Hello and welcome to an overview of Quintype. My name is Vineet and this video will cover a demonstration of Quintype's headless CMS, Bold. As a quick background, Quintype builds products that cut across the digital publishing suite, creating better content experiences for users. Bold is our flagship product that focuses on ease of content creation, speed of publishing, and is backed up with world-class infrastructure to manage high content volumes and heavy traffic websites scaling up to hundreds of millions of monthly views. A head, as the name suggests, is a head to the headless CMS. It's a simple and effective way for publishers to manage the look and feel of their website pages, including the home, section, category, listing, or even the story or article pages, without having to know any coding or dependencies on their technical team. This is a high performance, off the shelf front end model fully loaded with out of box integrations and a library of design components that is best suited for new and modern publishers who need to build multiple digital properties and get off the ground in no time. While we do support the direct and programmatic ad revenue models common in the industry, Access Type is our subscription management module for premium content behind paywalls, supporting regular subscription groups, plans, a paper article, as well as recurring donation campaigns. Last but not the least is MeType, which is our audience engagement platform to help interaction by way of comments and user generated content. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow the Quintype blog for more videos on demonstrations around these products. Over the last few years, Quintype has scaled to providing solutions for over 100 publishers spanning 4 continents, driving more than 650 million views through our platform. Whether you're a small, mid-size, or large enterprise, whether the content is English or vernacular, the platform offers a consolidated bundle including your hosting, maintenance, security, and continuous upgrades, wrapped up into a monthly subscription fee that grows as you scale in terms of your views or bandwidth consumption. A common question we get very often is, what is a headless CMS or why a headless CMS? Let's get to the why first. Traditional CMS systems are based on open source platforms working off a plugin architecture, which means you constantly need a technical team to make sure the plugins are working with each other as your platform scales. In Quintype, a headless CMS, we do not work off a plugin based architecture. All the modules, features, on the CMS are built from the ground up. So you'd visualize Quintype as a central repository of all your content with modules around the editor, monetization, syndication, analytics, and subscriptions. In simple words, it's like a system integrator which is layered up extensively and exhaustively with APIs that could be consumed on whatever front end of choice you desire. So the front end app could be a mobile application, a website, social media, email newsletters, push notifications. You could consume the APIs on any front end screen, whether it's a TV, laptop, mobile, tablet, a watch, or even a screenless device like your Amazon Alexas or Google Homes. So with that said, we'll start by looking at some examples of Quintype websites that are running on the platform, or client websites that are running on the Quintype platform. The first example amongst these websites is the Quint, which is a general news website catering to millennials. As you can see, the design is rather big picture, elaborate, and focuses on citizen journalism and mobile journalism driving engagement from users. Other examples are Prabhat Khabar, which is a leading regional newspaper based on the western coast of India, or perhaps even Prothamalo, which is the largest Bengali newspaper, the number 1 daily in Bangladesh, serving over 200 million monthly page views through their network, through their website. While all of these examples are very different from one another, the designs, the websites, the objectives are very different, yet they are all powered by the common CMS, Bold. For the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to refer to a sample website drawn off the AHEAD framework that you could see in front of you. We split the website into different sections or categories around sports, politics, news, and entertainment for easy explanation. Since Bold is a headless CMS, you don't really need to install or download anything on your computers. As long as you have an internet connection on a smart device, you could access your Bold URL to log in via the form or use our auth service to enable single sign-on and social media logins to access your CMS content. I did want to mention that Bold is amongst the leading and very few CMSs that are completely responsive to a mobile screen. So your entire team could essentially operate the CMS from a mobile device, whether they are on the move covering live events, breaking news, or doing live blogs, perhaps even ordering the content of your website while you're on the move. As a quick overview of the CMS, in the middle of the page, you would find a customizable editorial workflow. This workflow can be changed based on how your newsroom operates, and you're able to determine the access rights and visibility for all the users who have access to the system. Someone who has editorial access could be given full-blown visibility into every part of the CMS, along with the ability to approve and publish stories, versus someone who's a guest contributor or content writer having basic access to create and submit content, but not approve or publish those stories. We'll now move into the story creation process, where you could start off creating stories using this Add New button on the top left-hand corner. In the interest of this demonstration, we're going to pick one of the stories that are in the open state. And how we visualize stories on Quintype is essentially a stack of cards being put together, broken down into what we call elements of a story. There's multiple reasons for using a card and element-based approach to your content. From a technical perspective, the benefit is that you have an API available for each and every element onto the CMS. So if you'd like to represent your text in green italic font, or if you'd like your headline to come out in bold pink font, this is something which is programmable using the APIs on the front end you desire. So your content is extremely structured, following regular guidelines to make sure that the indexing on search engines is accurate and effective. From a business perspective, there are additional benefits. For example, you could essentially have a read more or a load more button after the first couple cards to ensure users don't have to read through an entire long form content or scroll through multiple pages before getting to the next story. You have advantages to place the programmatic ads between two cards so that the user experience isn't hampered and there's a natural break for the ads between the content. And last but not the least, even for paid content, you have the ability to place a paywall between the cards to make sure there is some content revealed and some placed behind a paywall as a user moves on with interest in the stories. From an editorial perspective, there's multiple other benefits for using a card and element-based approach. First off, you have the ability to reorder your cards and elements anywhere within the story. So many times journalists are writing follow-up stories on previously written content, so you could easily search for cards and insert them into your current story to be able to write a follow-up or draft. Other advantages are like a built-in photo editor. We heard about challenges where journalists often need to go through a process of sending their images over to a creative or design team to do something like frames, being able to add them onto social media or create text and graphic annotations. All of this is built in within the CMS, to the point where you could also go ahead and use our inbuilt image processor to make sure the image is rendering on every screen size. I'm just going to use a sample image for this demonstration. As you could see, there is a live preview option for your content as it's going to appear on a mobile screen even before you publish your story. So while your image sizes could be wider, which makes it hard or a cropped image to appear on a small screen size, there are abilities to set a focus point with a crosshair that you might see moving across the screen to make sure that the essence of your image stays intact. There are pre-built story templates in the system, so you could go about setting your own templates for different types of stories, whether it's an interview that needs to go in the format of a question, answer, or it's a live blog that needs to go with date and time stamps. You could define a template using the elements for every story and construct it accordingly. Again, a huge advantage than to go free flow building your story like Lego blocks. The three dots on the top right hand corner will give you the ability to look at timeline on the versioning of stories, who's been working on the stories, go back or restore a previous version, or even look at the SEO scores to make sure you're checking all the boxes in terms of your green, amber, and red areas that need improvement. Once the story is prepared, we'll now go about organizing that story within the website. So once we click on this Manage button, you could decide which sections of the website the story must appear into. If there is multiple sections or categories, it'll follow a hierarchy of the primary followed by the secondary sections. You could add multiple authors to your story and choose advanced options to come up with tags or use an AI machine learning based algorithm to recommend the tags for your stories. Even being able to define custom slugs canonical URLs for non-English or vernacular content, or identify a story as a sponsored content or enable a promotional message at the bottom. You'll be able to define access levels at every story level, whether you want to keep it free for the public, place it behind a data wall, or place it behind a hard subscription paywall based on the type of story that's being created. Once the story is organized within the website, we'll now go about publishing that story everywhere. So you'd be able to send out your push notifications right from the CMS itself, determine whether you're going to push it across multiple channels or either the web or mobile channels, define social cards for different message that needs to go on different social media channels. So if I'd like my tweet to have a different message and scheduled at a future date and time, which is different from my Facebook posts, you could program that right away from the CMS. As they say, you set it and forget it. So once it's programmed within the CMS, your distribution would happen automatically as soon as you hit the submit button on your story. Great. You also have the ability to add alternatives within the story. So if there's got to be a different image and headline that needs to go on the home page versus the article page or the story page versus a different headline and image that needs to go on social media versus the home and story page, these alternatives can be uploaded along with your story content, so the dissemination of content is seamless as soon as the story is completed. In addition to the alternatives, you also have the ability to be able to add additional videos, from searching directly from YouTube. So gone are the days where you'd have to go to YouTube and copy the link, but you could simply choose a video selecting from the YouTube channel and directly importing it within your story. So as you could see, while I click the green submit button, it has now changed to an approval state. because we have editorial access, or the role that I have has editorial access within the system, you could always go back to the workspace within the approved stories. I'll go ahead and approve it and then publish it, with the option to publish the story immediately or publish at a scheduled date and time. We'll go ahead and publish the story immediately to see how the notification or the story appears on the front end. We can now see that the story appears under the published state, and you also see the push notification that we sent out rendering onto my browser. Well, above and beyond this, you will have the ability to use a media gallery, whether it's images that are uploaded from the editorial team or integrating with external sources such as a Shutterstock or Getty Images. The Manage area would allow you to control the sections, the menu items within your website, or even set up entities, which is something that we're going to talk about towards the end of the demonstration. Your settings options would allow you to configure everything from your social sharing to integrations with your push notification provider, email service engine, any other tools you might be using, or even configure different features all the way from your story templates to your elements, or even a watermark or perhaps forms that you'd want to create along with your stories. We'll now go ahead and check if the story has been rendered onto the front-end app. As you remember, we published the story under the news section. And here we see it popping up right on the website. Now, there are other ways to go ahead and control the placement of this content, or where it needs to appear on the section page or the home page in the website. So let's go ahead and now switch over to what we call collections. Collections is nothing but a bundle of stories put together that can be organized into a home page, a category or section page, or even perhaps a magazine or a newsletter for that matter. Let's go ahead and start looking at some of the collections that are already there. We're going to now look at the India news section that essentially could be either an automated collection or a manual collection. The manual collection would be more so like editors' picks of stories that need to be pinned on the section, or it could be automated basis of some rules, such as stories with a particular tag from a particular section, or perhaps a collection of all your video stories, photo stories, or even grouped up by different authors, and our internal analytics engine that could give you what's trending over the last 24 hours or what's published rather recently. So depending on the rules that we select within the automated collection, the resulting stories would appear under the content list. And from here, we could go about pinning the stories that we would like to order within that section, within that newsletter, or within that magazine. In a magazine, you would look at a collection as an issue of the magazine, which has a bundle of all the stories within that magazine. So if I wanted to pin up the story that we just published at the top of our section page, or within the collection, we would simply drag and drop it to the top of the collection, or even decide a threshold of views it needs to hit before it moves to the bottom of the stack. Oops. There we go. All right, now once our collection is ready, then we could simply choose the settings options to either give it an image for the magazine collection. I'm sorry, I'm going to import something from our media gallery. Or even perhaps upload attachments like a PDF to your magazine and copy this RSS feed that you might want to send over to either an external source like an InShorts, Daily Hunt, or an external website, or perhaps even an email engine like a MailChimp if you're going to trigger newsletters. So once I go ahead and update that collection, and publish is now going to appear on the front end of the screen, as we see right here. Now we'll go ahead and start ordering the content on our home page in a similar fashion. Just an extension of the concept of collections would be a collection of collections, which is essentially how we determine your home page. As you can see on the front end app, our home page is divided into sections starting with sports, politics, news, and entertainment. This is the same order of collections that appear on the home collection, starting with a sports, politics, news, and entertainment. So if we wanted to go ahead and reorder the news collection to appear on top of the home page, we'd simply drag and drop that collection to the top, republish the collection, and refresh our front end side to see how the content is reordered. So this is just one of the effective ways of using these collections. You will now see that the news with our pinned story is right up top. And we could even go ahead and change the layout of these collections of how they need to be appearing on the home page. Like I said, all of these, this is a sample front-end app that's launched on the Ahead framework, but you could essentially use our API documentation to build any front-end app of your choice and connect it with these APIs from the CMS to pull out and render any content you'd like. If you do want to go down the path of using your existing website design, or even perhaps create a new design from high-performance components, our Malibu framework for front-end development would have a repository of these design components that could be used as a starting point to spin up your new website. So you don't really have to start all the way from scratch, but you could use some of these design components, go ahead and reorder, remodify, change the colors, font, or even layout to see, to start building your own website front end. Well, along with that, we're mostly to a wrap of our demonstration today. I'll wrap up by giving you an example of different story formats that are already available out of box in the platform. So whether it's your instant articles, whether it's your Google AMP, or whether you're trying to render something like visual stories, these forms of content are already inbuilt in the platform. So if you've got these forms of stories are already inbuilt on the platform. So if you've got the content in terms of the images and the text that can go behind it, you could represent your content in these immersive formats without having to work through any technology aspects. Perhaps even something like the last card on a visual story could be changed to that of a sponsor to make sure you're getting the right value for your advertisers. Towards the end of this demonstration, we also spoke about custom websites or entities that can be configured on the Quintype platform. A couple such examples are that of Bloomberg Quint, which is classic in how they're using the syndication engine to pull out data on markets of how stocks perform from different sources, wrapping up into what we call an object that combines multiple data points. For example, you could drill down into an organizational profile over here, look at how their stocks are performing on the Bombay National Stock Exchange, or even how their revenues are trending over a particular time frame to make an educated decision about investing in that stock portfolio. This is what we call entities. You can also club different information within an entity, and we did that for one of our clients, which is the Fortune India magazine, driven from the Fortune Group, where you'd be able to define lists such as the 40 under 40, profiling who the entrepreneurs are and how they've been trending over previous lists for the past year, or even start exploring the Fortune 500 organizations in terms of how they've been performing around parameters of their revenue, net operating income, profits, assets, etc. That perhaps brings us a wrap to our presentation for today. Thank you once again for your time, and hope you found it informative.